Alright, right now we will be creating our plaster cast hand. And what we use for this is plaster strips, cloth. You need water, and you've got to figure out an interesting way to put your hand. Now I've decided on creating my hand this way. And I'd like you to do the palm side up first, and we'll see how that works. So the technique is to put the plaster in the water, to place it on your hand, and once you start, you don't want to move your hand around. So I'm going to get two pieces on, and I'm going to show you that when I rub it, then it kind of starts activating the plaster so that it works. Alright, so you continue to layer and overlap, and I'm just going to move these fingers out of the way for now so I can kind of get started. And you'll see about the size of the piece that I'm using. On big areas you can use bigger pieces. When you get to smaller areas you're going to want to use small pieces. You're going to want to only take the plaster about halfway down your hand. You can only do half at a time, because if you did the whole thing it would be like a cast and you'd never get your hand out again unless you took a saw, and that could be dangerous, so we're not going to do that. Oh, there's a long piece. Where am I going to put that? Nowhere. So continue layering over, rubbing in, smoothing edges down, and now I'm going to start on this hand, these fingers right here, and what I'll do is go over the fingers, and once I start getting the plaster on the fingers, I cannot move them. I have to keep them in the same spot. So you can see I'm just going to continue to put the plaster, overlapping it, trying to kind of put it into the little crevices, and smoothing. You must smooth to activate the plaster so that it works and you have a nice smooth surface. It also blends the plaster together to make a better bond. Okay, now I'm going to go in this little crack, smoothing gently. Okay, and I don't want to go too far around. I think I need a small piece for that. Right there. Okay. Now, one thing to be careful of, and I'm noticing on this one that I had that problem, is when you are working, you don't want to drip on your little plaster pieces over here. So it would be smarter for me to have the plaster on this side. But I don't, because I wanted you to see what I was doing. So set yourself up so that when you drip, you do not drip on your plaster pieces, because once you start activating the plaster, it will get hard and you can't use it. Okay, so I want you to crisscross the pieces, different directions. If you can do 4 layers, that's the best. It'll make it nice and strong. And now, let's see if I can get these fingers done. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm putting the plaster on with my right hand. If you're left-handed, maybe you want to put your plaster on with your left hand. This piece is, oh, that's the right size. Alright, now I'm going to go in and do this little spot in here. Now I don't want to go down too far in deep, because then I won't be able to get my fingers out. So I don't want to make a concave or area. I don't want to push into the cracks too much, otherwise they'll get stuck in there. Okay, now what I probably need to do is make some reinforcements where there's any bends or areas that could crack. So what I will probably do is to go back in and reinforce any areas, again, where there's a fold or a wrinkle or someplace where you might want to move too. So along these areas, along here, and especially in the thumb bending area, because it's hard for me to keep that straight while I'm working. I'm trying, but you know, human nature, we're not perfect. So I'm going to reinforce by crisscrossing on all those areas that could be a problem with movement or cracking. Skinny areas right here too. Reinforce. Wow. And I'll go the other direction with a smaller piece. Crisscross.
We'll make you jump, jump. Let's see the other side of your hand now. Oh, look at that. No plaster.
No, and what I will do right before I'm done is to push back some of the plaster from the edges, like this part. Just to make sure I can get my hand out, and I certainly can. Okay, so I reinforce, and I want to get a little bit right in there. I didn't get anything in there yet. So, you see where I'm going to put a little bit right in there. And I'll probably have to reinforce that because it only had one layer. I missed a spot. Ooh, it's a double. There we go. And then again, I will look at my other side to make sure that I haven't gone too far. Okay, now that the plaster has hardened, what I'm going to do is to gently start loosening the edges so that my hand will escape. So, oh, I got these out, and I'm going to pull that out, pull this out, gently loosen the edges, and my thumb is stuck, so I have to loosen, and pull it out. And there we have a cast, the one side of my hand. Okay, now you're going to have to do the other side of your hand. So what you want to do is to figure out how it's got to go. Oh, you got to put it back in and figure, how did I do? Oh, there we go. Figure out how you had your hand. Put it in. Take the cast off. Hold your hand in the same position, and then begin again to put the plaster on top. Okay, after you get both pieces of your hand taken apart, then you're going to have to put the two pieces together to make one whole hand. Now right here we've got two examples from a past student that aren't completely finished. Nor are they the best examples, but I want to show you how it would work. So here's the top, here's the bottom. You're going to try to fit them together as best you can, and you can see if you've got some areas of big holes, that's okay because you'll be able to put some plaster over that. And you've got a nice thin area here, and you can move stuff around and kind of crack it and do it that way. But what you'll do then is to take more pieces of plaster and just put a layer connecting them. So I'll dip that in, and I probably would like a smaller piece of plaster, and you're going to use it kind of like tape, where you're going to take it, dip it in, and use it to kind of tape the pieces back together again. So you'll go along all the edges taping those. If you have any big holes like this, okay, watch this. Oh yeah, I'm so tough. You take the plaster, get it wet, and you will just take care of filling the holes with multiple strips and layers so that it all fits together again. Now, this is a hand that's been partially put together. You can see that these fingers have been taken care of a little bit. Still some work to do. There's still work to do here, and look at this floppy thumb. No big deal. They had to rip the thumb to get their hand out a little bit, but it can get put back in and plastered together. So that's an in-progress piece. This piece has been put together, however, it looks like the claw of a mummy because they put too many layers on. Can you see that there's no definition anywhere where the fingers went? But it certainly has been put together. A little too clunky. This is what I don't want to see. This one, wow, look at that. That's not a bad start. somebody's got their hand put together. What they needed to do is to smooth just a little bit more, because it's just easier to paint if it's a little bit smoother. Just right in here, there's a few bumpy spots. This is wonderful. Right there.